All right, folks, welcome back to another edition of Tech Tuesday. Again, my name is Christopher Barickmo, the instructional coach at Shawnee Mission East, and I'm excited to talk to you today about a wonderful, wonderful tool called Pear Deck. Pear Deck is a way in which we can present information in our classic, PowerPoint-esque way to students, but at the same time, giving them an opportunity to use the technology that's in front of them. We can embed assessments in there, do assessments on the fly. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to look at and learn today. Really very, very simple. If you have your Google account, your Google Apps for Education account, we can link that to Pear Deck, and all those files that are on there in Drive can then come right into your Pear Deck presentations. It's a seamless integration that way. So we're going to look at how to do that, show you how you can import those existing lessons that you may have in a PowerPoint already that you can use for easy presentation in class, show you what the on-the-fly formative assessments look like, and we'll also create some formative assessments in those presentations that we create. And probably most importantly, I want to show you how to create some tools to help students stay engaged with the technology that they have and manage that Netflix problem that we often run into when screens are up and Netflix is easy to get to and easy for them to check out. I recognize the struggle is real, and so this is a way that if we can manage our classroom in a 21st century way, we can help manage away that problem of Netflix. So when we look at Pear Deck is really going to have kind of three interaction points for us. The first is the session dashboard. That's what you control as the teacher. You can control it from your iPad, you can control it from your laptop or desktop. Anything that's connected to the projector, that's your interface. And then of course what the students see is the projector view on the screen. That's going to be important if you decide to kind of share responses and just keeps everybody on board. But then the participants also have the exact same view in front of them. So you give them a join code, they've got their screens up, they're engaged as to what you've got in front of them, and you can also kind of use this as a classroom management tool to help avoid that Netflix problem that we all know really exists. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at how we can create these things, and we are going to create a new lesson and get students onto their devices, collecting data for formative assessments and skyrocketing learning. So let's get started. So we are now at the Pear Deck platform. Peardeck.com is the portal that we're going to start with. And because we already have Google Apps for Education accounts, it makes it really, really easy for us to integrate what we already have. So we can sign in with Google to get started. We're the teacher, so that's the easy part. You can see it'll give you a chance to create your account. I'm using my Shawnee Mission School District account to make this all nice and fully integrated. So once you click on that, it signs you in. It's going to ask you for some permissions, what it wants you to access and different pieces like that. But if we take a look, then we are now in there. And it is all ready for us to go. There are different pricing points for this. There is a free version, and if you take a look, there's some extra things you get with Pear Deck Premium, and if you're interested in something like that, I would suggest using instructional grants from PTSA or funds from other different groups that are able to help fund projects and resources for our classrooms. But there are a lot of tools that exist just in the regular Pear Deck free version that we can use right now today in our classroom. So let's take a look at what we can do with each of these. So now that we are in Pear Deck, we are going to start creating a slide deck. And when we create a slide deck, this allows us to grab the files that we need, the presentations that already exist, and you can see now we can either create them ourselves by adding a slide. There are some premium features that you can have if you pay for the premium and get an educator discount with that, or if you get a grant for that. but there are things that you can add that are just normal um, free versions of it. So if you want to add those slides, you can. But if we're going to import a slide, or we're going to import a presentation, we are going to look to those that we already have, and they exist in either Google Drive, or we can upload them from different other sources that we have. But we're going to take something that already exists in Google Drive, and it's now going to download that content and put it into Pear Deck. And you can see over here on the side, I have my slides from a lesson that I did at the very beginning of an American government class on the analysis of different types of government. And so when you're looking at this projector view here, it'll show you what will be on the projector, but then what the students are going to see. And there's some different options here. You can ask a question that goes along with each one of those. We'll show you as that goes. But every one of the slides is from that presentation is already in there from what you already have. And so you could simply use this and use this as your presentation. But if you want to make it a little bit more interactive, what you would do here is let's ask just kind of a very basic question. And we are going to add a slide. And we're going to add a choose an answer slide. And something as simple as, what type of government does the U.S. have? And we can add an image. So you can maybe have an uploaded image. If you do a Google search, you can find those images that are available, given where we have the right license and rights to use those. So what they would see here on the presentation is, what type of government does the U.S. have? A little clue for them. It's going to be a multiple choice answer. So we're going to, in our portal here, create some answer choices. So democracy, or republic, or theocracy. We can call it an oligarchy, and to make it an AP style, standardized test style, none of the above. Now, once we've got that, that is now a question that is associated with the slide. So as the students see that information, they're going to see the question, they're going to see the picture, and then off on the side, they're going to see what questions they can answer, or what the answer choices are, with some clickable choices. So that is now a new slide within our presentation. And so then we can go on and we can teach a little bit more, what are some questions in our analysis that we're going to look at. And then, direct and indirect democracy. And I've got a little question down here that I would always just kind of pose to the class. Why might an indirect democracy be better for a larger population? But let's say you want to get some feedback and you want to get that information from them. You can add a free response text to this slide. And so in here, you've already got the question, why might indirect democracy be better for a larger population? And now they would be able to post that information. So we've got a whole lot of slides then that you would teach your way through. This is a little activity that then they would have to do as a small group. And now we've got some of those pieces that are finished. So I'm going to move to student mode and kind of show you what that would look like from student mode. And we'll take a look and see what we can learn about how students are going to interact with this information. All right, so let's take a look at how students are going to join our Pear Deck presentation. The beautiful thing is you're going to have a log of what students are participating and what students are responding to which questions because they're going to have their Google account. So I'm going to use my regular Google account here in order to enter the code. Now, as a presenter, I have a code on the screen. You can't see it now, but the code on the screen is what they will enter. And once they enter it, you can see it will confirm it, you're in, and now I, as the teacher, have, in a sense, captured their screens. Now, we know that they can, open a new tab, um, but this becomes your classroom management piece. So once I'm now in, I can start presenting, and so you're going to see what the students see in terms of this interaction. So this first slide, now I can talk about the different types of government, and Winston Churchill says that there's all kinds of governments that have been tried, and so on and so forth. So I can walk through my presentation that they have in front of me, or in front of them, and I can walk through these pieces and teach like I normally would. Now they can take notes, but they've got this on the screen. We've also got it up on the projector if you want it. And so everybody's got this stuff in front of them. And the key part then is we get to this slide. What type of government does the U.S. have? Now you can see what I created here, and now they can interact. And so we can now say, well, okay, which one of these is it? So then they make their response, and that's logged. Now, as a teacher, you can't see this on on the screen now, but we could take a picture and we can put this up on the screen to see where everybody's response is. And we can show that, we can use that as a formative assessment in the middle of our lesson, embedded. And you can see, we go through our presentation and we get to this who can participate slide. The question is, why might indirect democracy be better for a larger population? And now, as a student, I can type my answer. A larger population makes direct democracy harder. And we can answer this question, so on and so forth. They can add another response. Again, you can show these responses. I always caution against that. These are not approved responses or editable responses. You would see whatever the students put up there. So consider that as you're going through this. But then we just walk through that entire presentation. Now we get to the group assignment, that I've created here. And we can talk about geographic distribution of power. And what I want to do is show you then what the teacher can do to create an assessment on the fly. So let's take a look at that. As a teacher, what can we do to get some immediate feedback and answers with regards to a slide like this? Okay, and we're back. So now what I want to do is show you what this would look like as a teacher if you're on this slide, the geographic distribution of power. Do we have a unitary government or a federal government or a confederate government? We talk about that. We've learned about that. And then the question, which diagram best describes the distribution of power in the United States? Maybe I could ask a question. Well, there's all kinds of things. So if you go to ask a new question, you can either ask a new question, type with the current content, a new interactive question, but when you click on that, there's a lot of different options. So you might ask the question, we're going to ask a new yes or no question, and the yes or no question might be, has the United States ever had a confederate form of government? And you ask that question, students respond yes or no, and now you've got a quick way to look at a quick response on a pretty simple question about confederate government. The answer, by the way, is yes. We've had two examples of confederate governments in the United States history, one being the Articles of Confederation, and two being the Confederate States of America that broke off at the onset of the Civil War. So now, if I've got 90% of kids that say no, we've never had the Confederate form of government, it's a great self-assessment, formative assessment. Now we can describe and teach with that particular piece. So when we look, we've gone through our whole presentation. We've talked about this. We've gotten everything done that we've needed to in terms of that assessment piece. Now we're at the end of the lesson, and so you can end this session. And now you can save it. So we're going to call this Tech Tuesday example. And with the premium information, you can then take and go back to that data. But if you look, now we're back on our dashboard, and I've got this, and I can edit it or start presenting it again. But there's some really cool options here. And I don't know why we get that error message, but if we look here, export to spreadsheet, we can take all of those responses and it downloads that, it creates that spreadsheet, and now we can see every single response from each student that we have. So when was that response logged? Who was that student? What was their login that they used? What was their answer to this question? What type of government does the US have? What was their free response on making indirect democracy better than direct democracy in America? And then if we had a yes or no response to that question, there it is. So one of the beautiful things about Pear Deck in this way is we get that data. And we get that data and we can see it, we can log it, we can hold on to it, we can do anything we need to with that piece in particular. So that's kind of the basics. I want to show you just one little extra piece on some of the add-ons that we can do with Pear Deck. We'll take a look at that here right now. Okay, so now some of the really neat features that we have that we can then integrate with already on the free side are a direct integration to Google Classroom. And so now that we have our classes set up in Google Classroom, we can just take that information and have students log in directly to our Pear Deck. It takes our rosters, it brings all of those in together. You can see here, I'll send a link to this, but different ways that we can use the Google Classroom add-on. We can invite them via Google Classroom to join the presentation, and then students are going to see all of that that we went through, and we can add students in. That's a really key add-on that we have. We also have a cool little classroom climate piece, just a quick little temperature check. You know, we can ask for a student's mood, after the lesson, ask them to give us some feedback on the lesson. But to show you, a little bit, some of the questions could be, how are you feeling today? Just to get a little sense of, all right, where are we at? Temperature check. If we want to give the feedback, once you reach the end slide, quick thermometer is what I like to call this. How did it go? Are we a thumbs up or are we a thumbs down? Great little quick insight into what we learned. Great little quick insight as a tool within Pear Deck. Now you can activate that. Then there's this takeaways piece. Now this is a premium add-on, but you can get a free preview of the premium add-ons to see if you like this, and then file for an instructional grant to help fund this. But what I love about takeaways is it takes that session and it produces a Google Doc for every student that takes every slide and the student's responses to those slides, and it creates that in Google Drive, and it shares it immediately with that student automatically into their Google Drive. So now you can give each other feedback and collaborate. So there are some of those details along with that, and to give you an idea, it gives them a chance to summarize thoughts on the lesson. There's a takeaway at the end of each lesson that they can then publish and then send that to you. So there's so many different pieces that allow us in Pear Deck to take this information, present it in a new way, but use the existing presentations we have, gather student formative assessment data, and look at all of these wonderful tools. So I hope that this is a tool that you can use, and there's lots of different ways that we can use this every day in our classrooms. And I look forward to kind of partnering with you as we integrate this new piece of technology and the existing tools that students have in their hands. All right, well, so I hope that this video tutorial gives you a window into a new tech tool to use, maybe this week or in the next few weeks. Remember, what we really wanted to look at were ways that we could link our existing Google accounts and Google Drive pieces into Pear Deck, bringing those lessons in for presentations, maybe creating some on-the-fly assessments, and creating tools and pieces for us to use in our classroom to help manage that Netflix problem. I really hope that this was helpful for you. I look forward to partnering with you in any of these attempts to use this and other technology throughout the school year. I'm always here for you. Let's stay connected, and good luck today, and happy Tuesday.